Welcome, everyone, to the Two Average Guys podcast, where we dive deep into the heart of one of the most dynamic and competitive conferences in college sports. We are your hosts, Matt and Jimmy, and today marks the beginning of an exciting new era for the Big Ten. From historic rivalries and groundbreaking performances, the Big Ten Conference has always been a powerhouse in collegiate athletics. But as we step into this new chapter, we're not just looking back at the incredible legacy of the Big Ten. We're looking ahead to the future as we welcome USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. In this era of change, we'll be exploring everything from rising star athletes to the latest strategies and innovations that are reshaping the landscape of college sports. Whether it's football, baseball, hockey, or volleyball, or any of the other many sports that the Big Ten excels at, we've got it covered. This year, we celebrate 10 years of covering Nebraska football. We have a lineup of fantastic guests from ex-players to passionate fans. Together, we'll break down the biggest stories, share in-depth analysis, and of course, celebrate the triumphs and tackle the challenges that come with being a part of the Big Ten. So get ready to immerse yourself in the excitement, the drama, and the glory that is the Big Ten. Whether you're a diehard fan, a casual observer, or new to the world of college sports, this podcast is for you. Stay tuned, subscribe, and join us every Sunday for your all-access pass to the Big Ten, and more specifically, Nebraska Huskers football. This is the Two Average Guys podcast, and a new era begins now. Let's get started.
Come a-running, boys, don't you hear the noise? Like the thunder in the sky. How it rolls along in a good old song from the sons of Nebraska. Now it's coming near with a rising cheer that'll sweep all foes away.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm Matt.
I'm Jimmy.
We are Two Average Guys. Cheers.
Go.
Good to be back. Sorry about the little blip in the beginning. We had we were hurting people's necks with the sideways camera, so we had to go ahead and back and fix it. But really excited to be back. Holy cow! It feels like it's been forever since we've been with the greatest fans. Really excited to see you all on the show today. Really excited to get going and
Excited for football.
Excited for football. We're always excited for football. So, what's up, Dan? What's up, Kara? Welcome back to the show. We have an exciting schedule today, so we're going to do a little welcome here. We're going to talk about the Big Ten, some of our newcomers that are coming to the conference, as mentioned in that opening speech, with our West Coast friends. Talk about the coaches as well, kind of what they're bringing to the table. And then from there, we're going to move into our offensive depth chart. We're going to talk about defense. We're going to talk about our predictions for the season, which y'all know what I'm doing this year.
What you always do?
Yeah. What I always do, get a little drink that Roulade.
For sure.
And then we'll talk about a little bit, if we have time, the state of college football, our current rankings, and then we'll go from there. So, again, really, really excited to be back. It feels like it's been forever. We did a lot in the off season. We did. Want to welcome any new fans that are joining us today, and also give a big shout out and thank you to Backswing Brewing, who is continues to be our sponsor. So big shout out to them. Today we're drinking their red ale and their Bug Eater ale, which is perfect for Husker football. So
might as well top it off, right?
Top it off. And excited to be doing shows every other week at Backswing Brewing, live on 132nd and Maple, around that 129th, over by Eagle Run. Excited to be doing our shows there and welcome some
cool
guests.
Place, big tap room, lots of stuff to drink. You can bring your own food in.
Bring your own food.
There's a lot of TVs, a lot of TVs.
So we'll be doing our shows every other week there. So really excited. We'll be doing at least one live football game there as well. But we'll talk a little bit more about our schedule and our upcoming schedule here towards the end of the show. So again, welcome everybody. And also, before we do that, I do want to give a big congratulations to our buddy Jimmy. So Jimmy, for those of you who don't know, I don't think we talked about him much before, but Jimmy and his wife Mihaela, they had little twins, baby Rhett and baby Ruby. Yes, and so I want to say congratulations to Jimmy and Mihaela's life changing forever.
Yes, it sure has.
So Jimmy, what's it like being a new dad?
It's great. I've been wanting a baby for a long time, and we got 2-for-1 special.
2 for 1.
We don't know any different, I guess. So we keep saying, man, if it was one, we'd probably think it'd be just as hard, but it'd be a lot easier, we think. Yeah, too. But no, they're great. Not a lot of sleep, but it's worth it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And this is funny. So AJ from Big Ten Backers, he had 17 glasses of Roulade because he had us. I think at 10-2 was what he had. Maybe 9-3. I can't remember.
He had a lot of Roulade.
So that, I mean, I drink the Roulade every year, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we do that, again, also thank you to the Killigans for allowing us to use the Cornhusker as part of our show as well. Without having to do anything for them. So hopefully we get them on at some point as well. Talk about the Cornhusker. They're diehard fans here in the state of Nebraska.
Great song, great video, everything.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna dive in real quick to our newcomers. So talking about the Big Ten and welcoming our new team. So we have.
Do we want to welcome them?
Yeah, not with like happiness. We want to welcome them by beating them, hopefully, as just not Nebraska, but as the Big Ten.
Kind of the way that everybody else did to Nebraska when myself included thought we'd kind of come in and run the show in the Big Ten, and we didn't, and we haven't. So Oregon and Oregon might need to pump the brakes a little bit. They're going to have a little tougher schedule every week. Week to week.
And I think not just Oregon. I think as a whole, I think
USC as well.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley.
Washington was in the Natty, but I know their coach left.
Yeah, Oregon. A lot of potential for Oregon as well. Oregon thinks that they're going to come in and run the table. A lot of people actually think Oregon's going to come in and run the table as well.
And they very easily could. I'm just saying, it'd be nice to have a few. I'm not. We'll probably look through their schedule here, but have a couple of cold road games.
Yeah,
that they're not quite used to.
I think that's the biggest thing. So when we look at a team like Oregon, let's talk about Oregon for a second. Dan Lanning. So Dan Lanning is one of those coaches that I absolutely love because he has so much energy. The guy is just full of. He knows what he's got on his team.
Yeah.
He knows what he's got. He knows the talent. They also just continue to bring in talent. They're sponsored by Nike forever.
Right.
Like their NIL deals are probably through the roof.
They're
so they're going to continue to
get whoever they want, really. And now that they're in the Big Ten, they will.
Oh yeah.
So
they're going to
be tough. They're definitely going to be tough.
They've always been good at recruiting West Coast.
Just reading people's comments. I mean, that's what people are saying.
Absolutely.
If anybody's going to come in and do something, it's going to be Oregon, obviously.
That 100%.
I just hope they get a little bit humbled.
Yeah, and I don't even think. I don't know, humble, maybe not the right word, because not only are they know what they have, but they back it up.
They do.
So they don't just talk a big game, they play a big game. And, they got beat by Washington twice last year.
They did. It's tough to go on the road at night, not even at night, just in the cold. Big Ten, big boys up front. I mean, they have big boys on both sides, but getting banged around every week is going to be a little bit more than they were in the Pac-12, in my opinion.
Yeah. The team out west, yes, Big Ten backers. So again, and I got nothing against Oregon. I actually, out of the teams coming in, they're the one team that is probably the scariest coming in to the Big Ten.
Well, and I mean, I think he's a bit over the top, Dan Lanning, a little bit, but he backs it up, like you said. And the speech he gave before they whomped Colorado last year.
Yeah.
When he said, I can't remember word for word what he said, but basically like, all right, their time's kind of up. Like they're kind of pretenders. And
it ends now.
And
we're not here for clicks.
We're not here for clicks. That's what it was. There you go.
So I feel like Oregon is one of those teams that's going to challenge every Big Ten team more than any other. So Oregon, probably the scariest team coming in. We're fighting for wins. They're fighting for clicks. Thank you, Big Ten baggers.
Well,
we look at USC. So a lot of people think USC is really scary coming into the Big Ten as well. Here's what you get with USC. You get Lincoln Riley, who is an offensive-minded coach. Everyone glorifies him for his QBs, the QBs that won the Heisman that he had for 1 year. He wasn't building up a 4-year starter or anything like that. He gets gifted Caleb Williams. He gets gifted Riley Moss. I don't know where he came from. I don't know if he came into USC to begin with, but that guy's extremely talented. But the problem with USC is their defense. They give up a lot of points.
Right.
So now your offense, who, let's be real, last year wasn't exactly stellar. They were 8-4 last year. Offense wasn't stellar with the year before Heisman winning quarterback Caleb Williams. You struggled to win games. You got beat by Utah twice. Just really struggled as a team.
Well, and not only that, just to give a bit of perspective for them, the one game that they played a Big Ten-like team, to me was when they played Notre Dame and they got beat.
Oh, yeah.
So, if that's any indication, they're going to have to score a lot of points and probably score a lot of points early and hope that, a team like Iowa or, a Indiana or somebody just can't get the offense going.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what their schedule is either, but that's just, to me, that's how it's going to be. When kind of like when Frost came in.
Yeah.
It was kind of we're gonna give up points, but we're gonna score a lot of points and we're gonna outscore you.
Yeah.
That's how they're gonna have to win. And on the road in the cold, that might not be the recipe for them. But
I would even take some of the weather out of it. For one, humidity this early in the year when you're looking at September.
Right.
But you take the weather out of it. Even then, we have some of the best defenses in the country in the Big Ten. We got big boys on both sides of the lines. Right. So you're coming in, you're not going to be able to do what you always do because you're going to get that pressure up front that maybe you're not seeing in the Pac-12.
And that O-line might get more banged up than they were.
They don't always play for size in the Pac-12 because they haven't had to play for big size. They're looking for guys that can get to the defense that can get to the quarterback fast.
Well, and let's be fair here. Pac-12 was actually pretty good last year.
Yeah,
they were one of the best conferences last year.
Oregon State had a hell of a year too.
There's a potential that the transition might not be as drastic as we might be making out to be or other people might be. But I just playing the schedule. Yeah. Just like we were kind of blindsided. At least I was. I really thought coming into the Big Ten that Nebraska was going to just kind of, and we went to the Big Ten championship.
We did.
But it was a lot
back in the day.
Back in the day. But it was a lot tougher of a road than I thought, and it's been tough going. So
absolutely. So USC again, a lot of people are hyping them up to be maybe a top 10 team, maybe even getting to the playoff at the end of the year. I would push the brakes on them, but Oregon I would say absolutely has the best chance. Now we look at UCLA. No more Chip Kelly. They bring in Deshaun Foster. It's his first year as a head coach or a coordinator in college, and he never even coached high school. So this is his first time as a coach at a level outside of Pee Wee. So he obviously great, a UCLA great running back at UCLA.
Sure.
I remember watching him play. So now we look at Deshaun Foster coming in with no experience as a head coach or a coordinator. How do you think that's going to play out for a team like UCLA, who already is not exactly a powerhouse of football, but seems to always have some potential to do something good? Yeah,
it's going to be real interesting. I think between them and Washington, I can't decide which one I think will be more interesting. Washington obviously went to the Natty last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be on that level. I mean, they're going to have some of the same returning players that played on that team, but I think a fair amount of those guys transferred.
Yep.
Or Penix went to the pros, whatever.
Yep.
So between UCLA, that's a big question mark for me.
Yeah.
I'd say, I've seen predictions for them at like 4-8.
Yeah, but at least I was going to say that Big Ten back.
At least he knows where he is.
He knows they're in LA. They are UCLA is in LA, he knows that he's in LA,
Los Angeles.
So which is really good. So that's great. His press conference, if you haven't seen it, really funny. I like Deshaun Foster. I think he brings a lot. Again, not having that experience, you never know what the guy's going to bring.
Well, and that's why I said that they're kind of a question mark. Yeah, a bit of a wild card. I mean,
could be.
We play UCLA this year.
We do.
And so, we'll see how it goes before that for them.
Yep.
At this point, I predicted a dub in that game.
Yeah.
But
we'll go over
you never know. Yeah. We haven't gotten there yet. So
and then we look at Washington. Washington brings in Jed Fish, so another new coach in the Big Ten, takes over for for DeBauer, who went to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So Jed Fish took Arizona to 10 wins last year.
Yeah, and they were a good team.
They were a good team. So he's coming with experience. He's been coached for a long time.
Yeah, and Arizona was good for the last couple of years, kind of built that up a little bit. So it might take a minute. He might even have a bit more talent depending on how many guys left and what type of recruiting he did. I could see them being pretty decent.
Yeah,
not going to the Natty, but I could see it being okay.
And here's where Big Ten backers, we didn't talk about USC. Their first few games, they got LSU. They're at LSU.
Exactly.
Then they got Oregon, and they got at Penn State. So that is those first 3 games, they could be 0-3 to start UCLA. Thank you. So those are tough games.
For sure.
So we'll see we'll see what happens. But I'm excited to see what Washington brings too. Again, they were a good team last year. They were fun to watch. Took down Oregon twice, which I don't think people thought that they were going to win both those games, maybe one of them. But it's hard to beat a team twice in one year.
Right. I halfway expected Oregon to win that second time,
which is probably why I think Lanning's probably coming with a little bit of chip on his shoulder. He's probably
sure.
a little pissed off about that, so he wants to come back and really show, hey, we got better. We got better, and we're bringing something different to the Big Ten. And I think the biggest talk about Lanning and Oregon right now is their matchup with Ohio State.
Well, and I was just going to bring that up.
Yep.
So we're on the same page. It's like we don't miss a beat, even though we haven't done it for a while. So, they had a couple matchups with Ohio State in the non-con, a couple years ago.
Yep.
And Oregon won a couple of those games, or, at least one of those games. I'm not positive, but I know they won.
Yeah.
And so I know that's only one week of the season, but they came prepared. They won the game. So that's a big matchup. I'm very excited for that game.
It is. And, we'll get in. Let's talk a little bit about some of our Big Ten foes. So you look at a team like Ohio State. Obviously, a lot of hype about Ohio State. And they're looking at always look at their recruits. Look at their recruits. I mean, they got all these 4-star, 5-stars, all these transfers up the wazoo. But this is they're treating it like it's different than every other year. It's no different than every year for Ohio State. The question is, quarterback is Will Howard, who did well at Kansas State. Is Will Howard going to be successful in the Big Ten again? Talking about Big 12.
Big difference.
Big 12 defense is not Big 10 defense because there's no defense, just like the Pac-12. So how is that going to work out for Ohio State and Will Howard coming into that offense? Again, he's got tons of weapons, a lot more weapons than he had at Kansas State.
TreVeyon Henderson is an absolute stud. If he can stay healthy, I know they have other running backs. Yeah. I mean, they have other running backs because they filled his shoes when he wasn't there and they were just as good. Yeah. He's a stud.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious to see what he does with that offense, with the backfield, with the wide receivers. We know they got a decent defense as well. So I'm very curious to see how. To me, this is a year for Ryan Day that honestly might be a big or bust year, championship or bust year. If they're not in the championship game this year,
they definitely need to make the playoff. They definitely need to make some noise in the playoff and potentially get to the Natty, or their fan base is going to be more up in arms, I guess, than they already are.
Again, their fan base is already.
They need to beat Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing for Harbaugh forever was they can't beat Ohio State. Now he's beat them multiple times in a row. Now it's Ryan Day's turn. The shoes on the other foot. He needs to beat Michigan because nothing else to those fans matter than beating Michigan.
I've actually seen a lot of Ohio State fans say championship would be great, but beating Michigan would be better. And I'm like, that's insane. Like, yes, I would love to beat Iowa, but if we lose to Iowa and we make it the college football playoff and make a championship game, I care less about losing to Iowa, right?
I'm with you. I mean, it's a different landscape, I guess, than it used to be. You used to really not be able to lose a game to win the national championship. Now you can. So
but that's why I kind of agree with what Ross says here. It's you beat Michigan in championship game or he's done, which is sad to say. They could have one loss all year. Maybe or two losses. Maybe lose to Oregon, maybe lose to Michigan, or maybe they only lose one of those games and they lose to Michigan. And then what's going to happen? I feel like
it would be. Well, sorry, I don't mean.
Go ahead. No, I didn't know what I was going to
say. I would be curious to know, like, I mean, obviously, for fans for Ohio State, if it's between beating Oregon and beating Michigan, they want to beat Michigan.
Oh, 100%.
But at that time when they play Oregon, that's going to be potentially the biggest game of the season.
100%.
Obviously, top 5.
100%.
But you can't lose those games either.
No,
I mean. With the losses that Ryan Day has taken. I mean, I know he won so many games and it was just like they lose one game and so they wouldn't make the Natty. One way or another, they either have to make a run in the playoff or they need to beat Michigan.
100%. And I mean, you look at the top
boosters are going to be up in arms.
You look at the Big Ten schools in the top 25. You got Oregon State at 2, Ohio State, Oregon at 3. You got Penn State at 8. Ahead of Michigan, who, again, 15-0 last year, won the championship. New coach. A lot of people like him. A lot of people think he's cheated. Even though, Hey, Jim Harbaugh had nothing to do. He knew nothing, just like Pete Carroll knew absolutely nothing at USC.
It's trivial. It's anyway.
But then you get down a little bit further. Then you get down to Iowa, 25. So, which again is funny. They're 10-4 last year. Yet again, they are at 25 because no one believes in that offense. Cade McNamara in their spring game, Cade McNamara had an interception. He was 7 for 21 for like 20-some yards. Like, it wasn't an impressive game. He had a lot of overthrows. And when asked afterwards about the quarterback play, Kirk Ferentz says, "Oh, that's pretty much what we've seen all year."
That's what you always see.
If that's what you're seeing all year from Cade McNamara, who was pretty good at Michigan, and now he comes to Iowa, where the downfall, it makes me think of Adrian Martinez from year 1 to year 2. You have no quarterback coach. You're not building up your quarterback room at all to help your quarterbacks be successful. And I'm fine with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm fine with Iowa not helping their quarterbacks. But it's interesting to see and hear that about Iowa and about Ferentz. You just got rid of your son. It's like he doesn't care that the offense is so bad because he knows what he has on defense, which – yeah, you still they won 10 and they have another favorable schedule again this year.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
It's every year.
That seems to happen every year.
How do they never play Ohio State? Like, what has it been, like 6 years since they played Ohio State? Oh my gosh!
I know the Iowa fans will say, "Well, we went and beat Penn State on the road, or we beat Ohio State on the road."
Penn State's a pretender. Here's the thing: James Franklin. I actually like Franklin. I have no problem with him. But Penn State always gets all this hype every year. They're 8 again in the top 10. They get all this hype, and then they can't. They're not a big boy in the Big Ten. They're not. There's 2 big boys right now in the Big Ten, not counting our newcomers. Ohio State, Michigan. Those are your 2 big boys. Penn State, it's a distance from 2 to 3, in my opinion, because Penn State cannot get over that hump. Drew Alar is back again this year. How's he going to do? I don't know. He's not a bad quarterback.
It's tough that they've been in that division where they have to play both those teams every year. But that's the way college football is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew it was going to come to this, where it's just going to be a handful of big super conferences. We've talked about it. This is year 10. We've talked about it for a long time. And so, they haven't really figured out how to take that next step. I think they're always really good.
Yeah.
But they never really have. I mean, I'm sure they have a lot of guys that go to the league and are really good, but it's not like a big standout quarterback or a big standout receiver or something. They just have a lot of really solid players, but they can't really ever seem to get over the hump.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. So I'd be curious to see what Penn State does this year. Let's talk a little bit. We're getting into the Husker schedule next and the Husker offense, defense, and schedule. But before we do that, I want to look at week 1 schedule for the Big Ten. So we got Howard playing at Rutgers. Rutgers is an interesting team.
They are going to be. I mean, they're a decent team. They're going to be improved. Greg Schiano is Rutgers. I mean,
100%.
He wasn't. He was okay at the Bucks. Tennessee didn't want him. That we know that. But I don't know. He just breathes.
It's in
Rutgers football. 100%.
He's a Scarlet Knight,
and they kind of build it up from the ground up, and he's building something pretty decent. That's going to be a tough one on our schedule this year. So.
Absolutely. Minnesota's got North Carolina coming to visit.
That's on Thursday.
I got an L for them. Both these games are on Thursday. I got an L in that game. I don't think Minnesota.
I mean,
no one's talking about Minnesota in the Big Ten.
No, they really aren't. And if they play like they did against us on Thursday last year, then they are going to get beat.
Oh yeah, I actually just think North Carolina is a better team. I just think they're a better team than Minnesota. Minnesota has not been a good team. Yeah, we can't seem to beat them because Nebraska hasn't been a good team. But Minnesota's PJ Fleck, I think this might be his last year. They're not a good team.
They had a 10-win year. They had a decent year. Yeah, they got big boys up front. I mean, they have decent recruiting, but they haven't really been able to put like a really back to back at least like a run of success. He's all
talk. He's got a lot of wisdom to share, and I think people like him because of that. The row the boat crap. Like, I don't even care about the history of row the boat. I think it's stupid. I don't think it's a mantra now.
Matt doesn't like him very much.
I don't like,
and neither do I. But.
Penis head Fleck. Wow. There you go. Yeah. Hey, everyone thinks it. I just say it. We got Eastern Illinois going to Illinois. Illinois is kind of a question mark, too. I don't really know what's going to happen with Illinois this year. A lot of people think that's a toss-up game for Nebraska.
It was a tough game last year.
It was.
I mean, we won, but we lost.
Every game was a tough game
Every game was a tough game. So, yeah, I mean, I can never count anybody out. But,
no, that's the thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to be.
Yeah.
The Big Ten West foes that we had prior. I don't know. They're going to be interesting games.
I feel like Illinois has a lot of speed on offense, but their defense is where they kind of crumble. They don't always have a very solid defense, although it's not terrible. Got it.
Good.
I just don't think they're quite to that next level yet to win more Big Ten games. Let's say it that way.
And I'm not really sure what their schedule looks like.
Michigan State, again, the Spartans. I don't know. Kind of a toss-up with Michigan State. Probably going to be somewhere low, mid-pack of the Big Ten. That's where I kind of always see them.
They were last year, and they beat us. So
Minnesota fell off the boat. they have fallen off the boat, Ross. So Michigan State, again, I haven't paid too much attention to them. Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin's got Western Michigan coming in. Wisconsin, I don't know. Like Luke Fickell.
Just see how Luke Fickell's second season goes. They weren't as good as people thought they would be last year. I know they beat us in overtime.
We haven't beat them in 8 years, 9 years, whatever it is.
Gosh, it might even be longer than that.
No, it's 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, Luke Fickell's second year. I mean, a lot of people are probably saying the same thing about Rule.
Yeah.
I mean, not quite as good of a first season as they thought that they would have.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll see, because Wisconsin's had our number for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so we'll talk about that matchup here shortly. This is an intriguing one to me. Penn State's going to West Virginia. Again, there's some hype around West Virginia and their recruiting and how they're going to do this year. So I'm a little curious about that game to see what James Franklin and Penn State does going to West Virginia and how that game shakes out. I'm going to be tuning into that one. It's 11 o'clock next week at West Virginia.
Okay.
I'm curious about that one. West Virginia is always one of those teams that's kind of sneaky, and you kind of never really know what you're going to get with them. So, I'm curious to see what they do going to West Virginia. But if they struggle in that first game against West Virginia, again, it's game one. So do we really need to overreact to our first game and say, holy cow, like,
whoa. Sorry about that.
Goodness. Like, oh my gosh, they only won by, a short amount. They won by 3, or they won by 7. Like,
I know that Penn State's had a few tough ones. I think they played like Appalachian State the first week. I think that was the first year of Frost.
Okay.
And it went to like overtime, double overtime, or something like that. So yeah, early road game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a night game; it's early.
Yeah. But going to Morgantown, I mean, that's not going to be it's not going to be an easy game for them.
Yeah.
I
like that matchup.
Indiana State at Purdue. Again, Purdue it's Purdue. I mean, again, when it comes to Nebraska playing Purdue, I feel like we should always beat them. But I feel like we always allow their quarterbacks to play like Heisman candidates.
I know.
Like we do most teams. But
wild.
I don't really know much about Purdue, but we'll see how Purdue does. We got Illinois State. We know about all about Illinois and Illinois State. Illinois State going to Iowa. Again, who knows? Iowa's defense will probably run that game.
Right. It'll probably be low scoring. Maybe Iowa will score a couple late touchdowns and make it seem a little bit more of a big blowout.
Might be a 16-13 game with three field goals for Iowa.
I'm not sure that Illinois State will score that many points. It might be more like 20-3.
Hey, I don't know. If they score 20 in their first game, congratulations, Iowa, on the right track. UConn at Maryland.
Okay.
Again, Loxley's got things rolling at Maryland.
Maryland's pretty decent.
Maryland's again one of those teams that it's kind of a toss-up this year. They should make some noise, just like Rutgers could make some unusual noise.
Yeah,
both teams
for some reason they seem to get some East Coast kids that are pretty decent. So
they're getting a lot of kids staying home. Loxley finds
sense.
a lot of pride in that, and I like Loxley. Loxley is one of those guys that fires up his team. He's got a lot of love and a lot of passion for the school, for the team. So we'll see what he brings to the table too, and what that team's going to bring to the table. Indiana. They just got the coach from
James Madison,
who's had a lot of success. So
yeah,
I think it's probably, again, we're probably not looking at this year, but Indiana, again, usually a basketball school, not so much in the last few years,
right.
But the Hoosiers, we'll see what they do with the new coach. Again, he's going to bring in some recruits. You know how to recruit James Madison.
Maybe they'll be decent. Maybe it might
Might take a few years.
Might take a couple of years or at least a year, but I'm kind of excited to see how they are because that's our first road game.
It is,
and so we'll get to that.
Akron, Ohio State. Again, Ohio State's probably going to put up.
60,
they're going to have third stringers in there at halftime, probably. Northwestern's got Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is kind of interesting. They're not Big Ten, but if you heard their coach recently, he's talking about how their kicker was stolen by Alabama, literally stolen from them. So they did some illegal recruiting, is what he's saying. So it'd be interesting to see if they file an official complaint with NCAA on the illegal recruiting. I don't know why you wouldn't, unless you're doing the same. Again, we've seen this in the past where a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, these coaches are doing this, these coaches are doing this, but they never drop names because they're doing the same thing probably. So if he's saying, hey, Alabama's illegally recruiting our kicker, they stole him from us, literally stole him from us, he's pissed about it, are they going to file an official complaint?
I don't know. I wonder kind of what the
so that'd be
details
interesting.
are on
Now,
that.
a lot of people are like, oh, like they offered him more money, like no big deal. Like, yeah, it probably happens more than you think. There was talks about it with Colorado State. A couple of players at Colorado State were offered $600,000 from another team to come and play.
Insane.
So yeah, I know. I mean, and so they wanted them to hit the transfer portal. You know, all that's happening behind closed doors. Players are talking to players, coaches are talking to players. It's unfortunate that that's where it's at, but unless you're going to file an official complaint and allow them to investigate and wait 3 years for anything to happen,
that's the problem. Because I mean, for the longest time, obviously they were just giving McDonald's bags full of cash, so now it's just it's even a step further where they're just stealing players.
Exactly.
So I mean, and again, you had to assume that was going to happen.
And again, look at this whole thing with Stallions in Michigan. Now, now they're like, oh, we're going to hand down these sanctions to Michigan, and Jim Harbaugh's gone. He left. It doesn't matter. He don't care. He said he never lied. I don't even care about it. Listen, there's scouting going on across the way they did it, the way that happened, whatever. I really don't care. I don't. But the NCAA is a joke because if they do any investigation, you're going to wait at least a year for anything to happen or the following football season. So it doesn't impact the current team on the field.
And I know I was talking to somebody about this, and the vacated wins or the stripped Heismans or the stripped national championships,
which in my mind you should never do that.
They really don't mean anything because you can't take away that feeling from the moment when it happens.
Yeah.
As fans, as players, coaches, sure, you can say you don't get that natty. So it's, you've won 6 instead of 7, whatever. But you can't take away that feeling.
Well, no, and I think it's dumb too because even if something illegal happened, they're still winning the games on the field. So how can you say like, hey, you recruited this one player illegally and he accounted for 3 wins? Like, you can't really equate that to wins, losses. So to take away wins, to take away a Heisman, to take away, to me, that means nothing because that player still did what they did on the field.
Right. And they would have either way.
Exactly.
Whether you gave them a bag full of cash or not.
Exactly. I agree. But Northwestern, they get a new field. They got Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio has been a pretty decent team. We all know what they've been able to do the last few years. So I'm curious to see what they do and how they play up against Northwestern. Again, Northwestern.
They were not a bad team for a new coach last year. So
who now is officially not interim but officially head coach. Right. So we got UTEP. We'll talk about that. Our team in a little bit. We got Idaho at Oregon, Fresno State at Michigan, and then UCLA is playing at Hawaii for their first game.
Interesting.
Yeah, a little interesting road trip to Hawaii. So
it's gonna be a late one.
You kind of never know. Cool. Well, it's 6:30 Central time.
6:30. I thought it was 8:30.
You kind of never really know going to Hawaii what you're going to get. So see what happens there. And then we got Washington playing Weber State at Washington. So that's your first week matchup. But again, 9-1. We're looking at was that Monday night game.
No, yeah, that's still week
in
1,
Vegas. Yeah. In Vegas, you got USC and LSU in week 1. So again, we'll really get a good look at USC that first week against LSU, of course, who is, again, ranked really high in the standings. But we'll get to see what that team looks like going up against the SEC team in week 1 and what Lincoln Riley's defense is bringing up against an SEC offense. So
I'm very intrigued to watch that game. Obviously, LSU is going to have a new quarterback. USC is going to have a new quarterback.
Yep.
neutral site game. I'd say there'd probably still be more LSU fans there, even though it's closer being in Vegas to USC. But
USC can't even bring kids or can't even bring fans to their own stadium.
I get it. But no, I think that'll be a fun matchup.
All right,
week 1.
So let's go ahead and switch gears here. We're going to talk about a Husker depth chart.
Finally.
So I know it took a while. Sorry, guys. Got to do our, get it through everybody here. But let's talk about our offense. So before we get to the quarterback, we all know Raiola is their starter. But before we get there, let's talk about our wide receivers. I'm probably more excited about our wide receivers because we have a quarterback that can throw the ball to him. So we got Jamal Banks, our top 3 wide receivers: Jamal Banks, Isaiah Nair, and then we got Jalen Lloyd. 1, 2, 3. That right there is a hell of a
Coleman
good.
As well.
We got Malachi Coleman in there. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda coming back from a pretty gruesome injury.
Yeah, and
he's excited to get.
He's hungry. He's hungry.
Oh man, that dude has come back. He is ready to fight. Not only fight to get on the field, but to play as much as he possibly can. But then you still have again Coleman. You got Corey Barney. And then you got Demetrius Bell as well in there. Alex Bullock. We know Bullock can catch some passes too. We've seen him score some touchdowns for Nebraska. We have
not to mention tight ends.
Yes. So wide receivers, we are deep.
Well, and isn't Carter Nelson playing wide receiver?
Yeah, he's changed position. Yes. So he's now at the wide receiver. So we have.
He might be more of a 4-game guy.
Maybe.
Just with the amount of talent that we have. I mean, if he goes in and can blow the doors off, and I mean, might as well play him. But if not, 4-game him, get that red shirt, and have him be dominant in a couple of years.
And I do agree. Isaiah, I think that's supposed to be Isaiah Ross. He's going to be leading receiver this year. I think Isaiah is going to come in. He's got a chip on his shoulder. That dude, again,
he might be more of a Billy Kemp, like reliable type of, not that role, but like more of a reliable, maybe more catches than other guys. Maybe not blow the top off, but
maybe
Banks might be that blow the top off type of guy. Lloyd is that blow the top off type of guy.
I think he like your long distance throws, your big bang plays. I think
he's going to be like the 3rd and 4 catch for 5 yards, or catch it maybe, or whatever. You know what I mean?
I think he's going to be more of I'm going to catch it 5 yards and get you another 5 or 6 after I catch it.
Right.
As in Kemp was always getting hit right away. And then I don't know. I feel like he's going to make a big splash this year. But, of course, excited about Lloyd, excited about Isaiah Nair, and excited about Banks. So we have – and, of course, Coleman. We know what Malachi Coleman can do. He's entering his 3rd year now. Is it year 3? It's got to be year 3.
I think it's only –
2nd year maybe?
Second.
Well, either way.
Could be wrong.
I'm excited about our wide receiver room. But then you look at our offensive line. We're bringing experience back with our offensive line. We also recruited some offensive linemen to come in and help out as well. So when we look at our offensive line, we look at Turner Corcoran as left tackle. We got Justin Evans at left guard, newcomer. Ben Scott at center. So, again, he's entering, I believe, his senior season. We didn't have really any struggles at center last year, so I'm excited about that. We got Micah Maskua, I think is how you say it.
Yeah,
he's a transfer from Florida. We know he likes to, throw the fist.
He sure does.
He's ready to come in and play. That guy, I'm excited to see him play on our offensive line at right guard.
It's funny because I think I talked about that. I think I talked about that before he came here.
Probably.
We talked about the
fight.
Fight, that's funny.
Yep. Coleman's a true sophomore. Thank you. Bryce Benhart at right tackle. Again, people, you can hate on Bryce Benhart as much as you want. Last year, he improved tremendously on the offensive line, which you can probably look to Raiola for that as well and how he's coaching the offensive line. So a lot of people question Raiola coming over from the Bears. I think he's done a tremendous job. Now he's entering year 3. And I'm excited to see what he's able to do with our offensive line this year, with what he's been able to do and the improvement we saw last year. So I'm excited for Bryce Benhart to be out there again. But then we still have Henry Lutowski, who has experience, Sam Sledge, Grant Bricks coming in as well. So we got a lot of experience and a lot of new guys coming into the offensive line. I think is going to help us. Yeah,
and Bricks might be a guy that maybe see some time, just see what he's got.
Yeah,
he might be somebody they want to wait and
100%
put some mass on him. And try to be dominant in a couple of years.
Yep. Tight ends, we know we got Fedoni, we know we got Borkcher.
Yes.
Those two guys, I think, are going to light it up this year. If we are smart on offense and we play a smart game, we're going to use our tight ends a lot more than, as much as we always talk about that we should use them. There's a lot of times
Matt loves the tight ends.
Love the tight end. It's such an easy, safe bet to throw to a tight end when you have 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Get a short little 4 or 5 yard route and throw it to your tight end. It's not a hard thing to do. We don't do it enough. And we always seem to have tight ends that are willing to go in there and get in the dirty spots and make those catches.
And they're pretty good. We've had a lot of good tight ends.
Yeah, we just don't. Honestly, we could be tight end you over like your Iowa if we actually use our tight ends the way we should.
Right.
So, again, I'm going to leave it there because I feel like we have, with Fedoni coming back and Borkcher coming back, we have two guys that can make catches, especially those short yardage plays down in the red zone. Let's make it happen. Let's get them involved in the offense, and let's really pound it when we're down there. So,
absolutely.
Dylan Riley, quarterback, we knew that was going to happen.
For sure.
Not just because we paid him a lot of money, to come here, but because, again, I believe he's the most talented quarterback. He's a 5-star quarterback. I feel like, don't beat me up over this, I feel like he is the next Adrian Martinez, but a better passer and maybe not as good of a runner.
Okay, fair enough.
As far as his potential and his upside. So we know that he's going to have some hiccups as a freshman quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's going to happen. But he has the skill to be better than Adrian. And let's be real, if Adrian Martinez had a quarterback coach after his first year to actually do something with him, he would have been a Heisman candidate sophomore, junior, and senior year.
And a bit of a better offensive line, for sure.
Absolutely. His offensive line killed him. But even with the better quarterback coach, I think he would have been better. So, again, I believe that is going to be really good for our offense to have a quarterback that can throw the ball, especially with the wide receiver depth that we have.
Okay.
All right, as long as he doesn't finish games like Adrian Martinez. That was the biggest thing about Adrian Martinez. Yes, his untimely turnovers, which many times was attributed to the offensive line not blocking
or him trying to do too much because he was scrambling around, whatever. So
and before we're going to talk about running backs here real quick, but one thing that rule said this year is if you can't hold on to the ball, you don't play. So from a quarterback standpoint, from a running back standpoint, we're getting our running backs next. If we do not hold on to the ball, are they actually going to take him out of the game?
Right.
Because
I
believe we've heard that before.
Sounds like Harburg has improved.
We played Sims a lot, and he kept fumbling the ball.
Right. Harburg's going to be itching
to,
he's going to be hungry to get in there. If Dylan starts slipping up and gets those freshman mistakes and it starts to snowball a little bit, I think he'd come in and do well.
And Harburg went to the staff, and he said, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win games. He wants to play, whether he's a quarterback, whether he's subbing in as a tight end. He is willing to get out there on the field and play. The guy and stay alive at Power 5. Stay alive in Power 5 is, I believe, the Facebook handle. And he was talking about the Husker quarterbacks, how Dylan Riley wins the spot. What does that mean for Kalen? What does that mean for Harburg? And someone commented on it, and his response was, "Oh, both those, Harburg and Kalen have an ego. One, they're quarterbacks. Yes, they do.
Right.
Two, Harburg is a Nebraskan through and through. He's not transferring. Look at all the guys that have transferred out of the quarterback, and look where they're at now. You got a backup at Nevada.
Well, I think he's injured. I think he
Still
was maybe going to start the first game. But
either way, he did not win the starting spot. Chuba did not. Sims is not starting anywhere.
No, he went. I think he went to Arizona State, and he got beat out.
Yeah, so he's not starting. So our court. Well, then we look at even further back. We look at McCaffrey. Thought he was a quarterback. He transferred. He's not playing.
And then they switched him to receiver, just like they wanted to here.
Somehow he got drafted, even though he wasn't that great of a receiver. But his name stands out
for sure.
But I believe, Harburg's going to play. He's going to get in there. He's going to play. You're going to come in. I was telling someone the other day, let's run the damn triple option.
I was going to say, he comes in, you run the option.
Absolutely. Just get him in there to run the ball.
Hand it off to him and have him throw it.
Yeah.
You know how he did those option passes last year? Threw long touchdown passes to Lloyd.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that.
He can come in and still play. I heard he's also very improved. Kalen, I want to see what he can do. Again, I don't know if he would leave and transfer. Again, I don't know what offers he had outside of Nebraska, but for D1. But if he wants to play and he feels like he's not going to play, yeah, he'll transfer. But I don't think it's an ego thing. Quarterbacks that are on D1 teams, they want to play. They don't go to a team and say, I want to be the backup quarterback. No, they want to start. So Harburg is going to play his role. I don't think he's going anywhere. Danny Kalen, maybe he will. We got two quarterbacks behind them. I don't know. Maybe they'll go somewhere else. But Raiola is going to be a 4-year starter.
Yeah, and who knows? We'll see how it goes if he stays here for 4 years.
Yep.
But, if they can redshirt Kalen, he's got an opportunity to have his chance in a couple years.
100%. At least play in some games. Let's say
I'm sure
needs a break.
Probably get some play in some games. You start beating somebody pretty good and get a chance. So
now one thing, he was committed to MSU. Thank you. Kalen was.
He actually was committed to Missouri.
Oh, to Missouri?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing that, next on our list of depth chart is running back. Man, are we absolutely stacked.
I know. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with it.
Emmett Johnson, who absolutely stud last year.
He was.
Loved him.
Came in for Gabe Irvin after he got hurt.
Gabe Irvin gets hurt again. We still have Gabe Irvin, who's an absolute
He's an absolute stud. He's gotten hurt. So if he can steer clear of the injuries, he's a beast.
Dante Dowdle coming over from Oregon. Dowdle, also a stud. If you've heard or read anything on him this year, the guy's going to make some noise. But let's not forget about Ramir Johnson. A lot of people
still here.
A lot of people don't talk about Ramir Johnson nearly enough. Again, he got hurt. He's been banged up. It feels like every single year he gets banged up a little bit. So strength and conditioning, we'll see how that's played out. But I think Ramir Johnson and Emmett Johnson, I would love to have those as our 1 and 2.
Okay.
I would love it because we know what Ramir can do. We know he can fly. The dude's got so much speed. So does Emmett. Gabe Irvin, I think, is going to be your ground and pound guy, short yardage play. He's a big dude. Dante Dowdle, I think, has some speed. Then you got Quentin Ives.
Yeah.
I mean, we got 5 guys right there, and I know we have more running backs, but those are our 5 guys. I think who's going to come out on top might be Emmett Johnson from what I'm hearing, but I think Ramir Johnson is a close 2.
I'll be curious to see who gets, that first carry. And that might not even be who they're planning on starting in the heart of the Big Ten schedule. But just to see kind of, I could see first game somebody blowing up for 100 yards or whatever, and then I could see the next week somebody different being the leading rusher. So I mean, I could see it going week to week, different leading rushers.
I think it's going to be a committee until we get to Big Ten play,
right? And hopefully, which I think Rule wants is, and I feel like we've said this for a few years because we've had such good running backs, but no one is taking it. Like, this is mine. I want. Like,
we haven't had.
They all obviously want the number 1 role, but no one's really sent themselves over the top for that.
Yeah,
I really hope that happens with somebody. I think the last person to do it was probably Gabe Irvin, and then he got hurt.
Now, maybe but even before that, our solidified number 1 and number 2 or number 1 running backs were Rex Burkhead and Abdullah. Those are the last 2 guys we had.
Maurice Washington was probably, but he got.
He got hurt too. So. But guys that are in there that play an entire season as our number 1, you're looking at Burkhead and Abdullah.
For sure.
Those are the last guys. I would love, and yes, we have talked about it for a long time. I would love to have a guy that doesn't get hurt, that holds onto the ball, get 1,000 yards per year, but we have to have a number 1 guy to do that. You have to have hey, he is our number 1.
Like Ross said, the bigger question is, will we have a 1,000-yard rusher?
And Matthew, what kills me is if we don't have a true number 1 by now, maybe that's not a bad thing, but we better find out in the first few games who our number 1 guy is. Well, because if we are truly running back committee until we find a number 1, to me that means in practice we're not seeing a guy coming out there and really taking charge to be that number 1.
And
or they're all just that good.
And sometimes it is hard to do that in practice. And you're kind of have to. Some guys thrive in the game.
Yeah. And our running backs have not been healthy the last few. Like, why are running backs always getting hurt? Hopefully we got.
Fortunately, we've had depth.
Yeah.
And so we've had a guy like Emmett Johnson come in and play really well because other guys have gotten hurt.
Yeah. I'm excited. Really excited to see what our running back room can do. More excited probably than Dylan Raiola, to be honest. More because that just gives him so many weapons out of the backfield.
And with that. if we have a good run game, that's just going to make Dillon that much better.
Exactly.
So, and another thing too is if Rolla is as good as advertised, then that can actually help the run game, because if you have a good passing game, you have to be on your heels a little bit. That opens up the run game.
100%. And we got Liebentritt and Ruth at running back. So we got two fullbacks. Sorry.
Yeah.
We got two fullbacks. So we can run that power eye. Please give me the power eye. Stop all the shotgun. Give me some power eye football. Give me some option football with the running back or the fullback being out there blocking with pulling the tackle. Give me some of that hard-nosed Nebraska Husker football that Dylan Raio's dad grew up playing. He grew up watching his dad play.
I will be kind of curious to see how much they have or let Dillon run. I mean, if you don't have that threat in college football as a quarterback run, I just feel like pocket passes are great.
Yep.
But if you don't have that threat of 3rd and 5 and he's looking, runs for 6 yards, or can take it 40 yards down the sideline for a touchdown. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do that or that they want to do that, but I think the potential's there.
Prime example of that is Georgia Tech and Florida State in Dublin.
I mean, that quarterback, I didn't get to watch it, but
the quarterback for Georgia Tech, that dude could take off running. He was hard to bring down. He was a big dude, very hard to take down, and it was a transfer from Texas A&M. He ran all over him. He had like almost 100 yards rushing as a quarterback, and their running back had, I think, at least 100 yards rushing, if not a little more. Florida State doesn't have a rush defense. They did not study the tape on Georgia Tech and what they were able to do, which is horribly pathetic for a coach that last year was fighting, thinking their team should have been in the championship game. So if you think you should have been in the playoff last year, why are you not studying tape? Because Georgia Tech's, they're a run-first team.
Well,
but they just split apart that defense when they wanted to.
And we talked about it quite a bit. So, I mean, I don't want to say anything that would contradict what I said last year because I can't remember exactly what I said. But I was on Florida State's side there thinking that they should have been in the playoff.
So was I.
But since they didn't make the playoff, they haven't showed up in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And I know bowl games are different. Guys sit out, whatever, but they haven't showed up.
They get DJ Uga, blah, 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 and he comes over there and he can't throw. He looked horrible. He couldn't throw more than 10 yards downfield. Every time he had a receiver after 10 yards, he was overthrowing.
He was great at Clemson his freshman year.
Again, yeah. And then now he's on his 3rd team, and he did not look that good. So, all right, we got defense to talk about. Jamari Butler, defensive end.
I was going to say, the defense is really
Elijah Judy, defensive end, 2nd. Absolutely amazing. Jamari Butler is one of my favorite guys. I love him at defensive end. Excited to see what he does again this year after what he did last year. Again, Elijah Judy as number 2 is also great. Like, we have guys that can come. Our number 2, in most cases, is just as good as our number 1.
The 2 deep is very solid on the D.
Yes, and even at some point 3 deep. So we even get down to like our linebackers, our 3 deep. Unfortunately, we don't have Buddha. Javin Wright out for the season with an injury, but we got Willis McGahee, who is itching to come in there at that middle linebacker position. You got Nash, of course. We got Polar Bear and Ty Robinson. We have our
Riley Van Poppel, another true freshman guy. Cam Lenhart was a stud last year.
Defensive tackle, we got Ty Robinson, Cam Lenhart, and James Williams. How is that our 1, 2, 3 at one position? Those dudes are going to be playing defensive end. Lenhart and Williams, they're going to sub in as much as they possibly can.
Oh, for sure.
Those dudes are studs. I am excited for Lenhart. I'm excited for Williams. Those 2 guys are going to make a lot of noise this year. But then we got even Vincent Shavers has been making a lot of noise this year in the offseason. So he's a name to look for. Tommy Hill. They're talking about Tommy Hill being a 1st-round draft pick already.
Talking like a 2nd-round draft pick, yeah.
1st round.
Really?
1st round. They're talking about him going 1st round.
Okay.
Talking about the Niners because the Niners have a couple guys that are going to be potentially leaving with their free agency contracts, whatever. But they're talking about Tommy Hill being a 1st rounder this next year. Tommy Hill has improved. Man, another guy. It's the same thing we did with what's his name, Lamar Jackson. We talked so much crap on that dude as a defensive back. And then he comes out next year and
there was a lot of hype, a lot of potential, and he just hadn't showed it. And then he was really good.
He was really good. We did the same thing with Tommy Hill. Offensively, he was not a good wide receiver.
No.
He struggled. Defensively, he switches over. He struggled for a little while, but then he really picked it up.
He was really good at the last few games of the season last year.
Absolutely. And he had like 4 or 5 picks last year. He had some tackles for a loss, pass breakups. The guy was really good in the backfield for our defense. So I'm excited to see what Tommy Hill brings again this year. Again, I think he's going to be one of the top corners in the country, if I'm being honest. I think he's going to show out this year and really show, hey, I'm a first-round draft pick.
Deshaun Singleton was an absolute stud last year before he got hurt.
Yep.
He's a single-digit guy, is he not? Okay.
Yep. We got Princewell. Again, that dude
he was awesome, too.
He's our jack. And then we got Sherman behind him.
Yep.
Makai Gaber. We got that dude, Gabier, sorry. He was a stud last year. Kind of came out of nowhere when he played.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
They had so many guys that come in. I'd be like, man, I don't know who that guy was, but he's looking pretty solid. He's having a good week.
we got Kobe Bretz as a safety as well, behind Deshaun Singleton. You got Malcolm Hartzog.
Hartzog's a single-digit guy. He's great. I mean, and I even think Benning is going to play. I think Caleb's going to play. I think he'll see some time.
That'd be great.
Maybe he's a 4-gamer, so they can redshirt him. But I think he's itching, and I think he'll see the field.
Absolutely, Marquise Buford. Again, and then Isaac Gifford.
He's a single-digit guy.
Again, I mean,
they're all single-digit guys.
9 of our 10 guys are single digits are on defense, which again, that's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing.
So super excited about our defense, as we all should be this year. We know what we had last year. We know what we can do this upcoming year. So I do think we have enough people on defense. A lot of people worried about the defense again coming this year. I think we're going to have a top 10 defense again.
Yeah.
And when it comes to your Wisconsins, your Iowas, we have to match their defense, which I think we do.
We have the depth for it anyway.
And I think we have the talent, but we have to be better offense for both teams. We got big boys up front that can make a difference.
I think
winning the trenches.
The offense even if the offense can just be a little bit better, hold on to the ball a little bit more, which, gosh, it seems like we've said that for 10 years.
We led the nation.
We have said it for 10 years.
We led the nation in turnovers again last year. It's like the last 5 years.
That will help our defense be that much better.
Yes.
Because our defense was that good last year. They were just on the field all the time.
Yeah. And they were still like a top 10 defense last year.
I know. They were like top 25 in most, or top 30 or whatever in most statistical categories.
Yes. Depending on what your statistics are, what you're looking at. But
yeah,
I feel like we still have one of the best defenses. So I'm excited to see what we can do. We hold on to the ball in the offense like we didn't do last year. If we held on to the ball last year, we probably win 8 games, maybe 9.
Yeah.
Which has been the story for the last 8 out of the 10 years we've been doing this.
And to be fair, and I'll be a little critical. It's hard to, first year coach, but if we would have played Harburg a little earlier, if we would have played Chubba a little earlier, we would have won 6 games last year.
Yep.
So I kind of hope they learn from that. I think with Dylan, it is kind of tough. I mean, he's an NIL guy. I mean, he's a prized guy. I think it's going to be quite a bit of a different story than a Jeff Sims coming in.
He's still a 5-star quarterback,
but he still has never played a down of college football yet. So,
but how many? And I've had this argument with people. How many 5-star quarterbacks do you see come in as freshmen and excel? A lot.
Right.
If we are doing the right things as coaches to prepare
put him in the right spots,
don't
have him just going out and trying to throw 60-yard touchdown pass. Get him in a groove.
We have deep guys.
Get his feet wet. Because that Colorado game is going to be a bบtime game.
Yes.
Second week of the year. I mean, obviously expecting us to win the first game. That's going to be for a true freshman quarterback. That's going to be a lot of hype.
Yep.
That game is going to have a lot of eyes. There's going to be a lot of recruits there. That's going to be a big stage for him.
Huge.
So
huge.
He might be a little nervous early on. He might make a few mistakes early on.
Honestly, that might be his biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
As far as the freshman hype, freshman
at home
nerves.
Night game, it's going to be pretty lit, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting. That's going to be a lot on his shoulders. So we're going to have to see how he does. I'm excited.
We only have a couple minutes left. We're going to go over. We haven't gone over our schedule yet.
We got to do it.
All right. So UTEP. Dub. Colorado.
Dub.
I think we at home. I think Raiola excels. I think our defense excels. I think Shador takes some more sacks from our defense. 5 or 6 that game at least. We dominate the line. We dominate the line of scrimmage of that game to win. Northern Iowa. Dub. Illinois.
Dub.
We're 4-0, guys. We're going away to Purdue.
Okay, I was thinking Indiana was our first road game. So
we all make mistakes.
11 a.m. game. Gosh, it could be a little tricky. I think it's a dub.
Okay.
We do this.
Walters.
We do this every year.
We got Walters. Yep. Walters is coach. I think he's still kind of getting his feet wet at Purdue.
Rutgers is going to be a tough one. I think between the Rutgers and then the Indiana on the road, I think we lose one of those games. I can't tell you which one.
Okay, so Jimmy thinks we're 6-1 after 7 games.
I think we're 6-1.
I'm doing it, guys. 7-0.
Okay.
We're 7-0 after first 7. I think it's very doable.
It's definitely doable. I just think we're 6-1.
I think a couple of those games, I don't disagree that could happen. I'm hopeful as usual. 7-0.
It could just be a look ahead to Ohio State, road game at Indiana. They might be a little better. Anyway.
Now, going to Ohio State. Now, at the shoe. Now, do we have the opportunity to beat Ohio State? Absolutely. We've played them tight before. We've had really good games against them at home, away. We've surprised them before when we were a horrible team. We lost to them by 5 with Adrian Martinez. We've had some good games against Ohio State. On the road with Ohio State's roster. How are we doing this year, Jim?
It's an L. And I'm sorry to say that because you hyped it up so good.
No hesitation.
He originally committed to Ohio State. That is going to probably fuel their fire a little bit. That Royal had committed there.
Yep.
If we're 6-1, if God forbid, if we're 7-0, they are going to be fired up for that game. It's going to be a big game. And, I hope we play well. Maybe we've got a shot. I mean, we've got a shot. But
even if we're 6-1,
and at that point, we're going to be sitting here and I'm going to be like, I think we're going to win.
We're going to win that
but
game.
At this point, just with the history of how we've done against them, I mean, we've gotten blown out. I won't say it will be a blowout, but I'll say we lose.
Yeah, okay. I think we lose to Ohio State. Again, I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people are going to predict, but I think those first 7 games, we'll know a little bit more. Right. After, I think, our first 3 or 4 games, I think I'll better be able to predict how that game's going to go because seeing how Ohio State plays, too, in those first 3
Ohio State
games.
plays well at home, too.
UCLA, at home, I think that's a win for us.
I think it's a win as well.
So 6-2 or 7-1 is where we're sitting at right now with 3 games left in the year. Sorry, that would be, I got that right. USC, at USC.
At USC is a tough one for me. I'd say you pick. I can't say at this point.
I got a dub for USC. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think our defense is going to be better than their defense, which will allow us to be better on offense. So
you think we get the dub?
Yeah.
Okay. You said I thought the way you worded that. I thought that you said.
I think we get the dub, and our defense shines that game. And their defense is their defense.
I would say I feel more comfortable picking a dub in that one more so than these two because I almost think we probably lose 2 out of those 3.
Yeah, originally I was
though it's like we're improved and like we never can get over the hump with Wisconsin. We can never get over the hump with Iowa, and I feel like we could very easily. My prediction is 9-3.
Okay. So I'm gonna throw Big Ten backers under the bus here.
Maybe 8-4.
Throwing Big Ten backers under the bus.
I guess my prediction is 8-4.
They said I was a hard L for us.
Hard L.
Hard L. I think maybe because it's at Iowa. I do disagree with that. I think we are miles ahead of them offensively. Defensively, they may be a little bit better. Yes, they have some returning guys that are preseason All-Americans, yada yada yada, All-Americans last year, whatever. We had guys that I think should have been on the list for All-American that aren't. Which it is what it is. When you're a team that doesn't win games, you're not going to get on those lists. Yeah, it's hard to
do so.
But our defense,
when a team wins 10 games, they have All-Americans.
We don't have Isaac Gifford. We don't have Tommy Hill on those lists. Like, they should have been on the list last year at the end of the season.
Singleton could have, but he got hurt.
So I don't pay attention to much of those lists. I do think we match up really well defensively, but I do think our defense is going to be able to destroy their offense because they don't have a lot of offensive weapons. You can say they got guys coming back. Well, I don't even know what their offense looks like because their offense was crappy last year.
Right.
So who knows what Iowa's offense is going to look like. It's probably not going to be very good. But I think, again, toss up between Iowa and Wisconsin, between those 2 games. I think we win one of those 2. I'm not going to say 10-2, though. I know I kind of predicted that. But, again, I do think we're probably going to be I think 8-4 is low for us, with 10-2 being our ceiling.
Okay.
So it's going to be 8-win or 10-win.
That's kind of where I'm at, too, and I know that's kind of a weak prediction, but my prediction is that we lose one of the 2 Rutgers Indiana games.
Yep.
And then 2 out of Ohio State, and then 2 out of the 3 between USC, Wisconsin, and Iowa.
Yeah. So
back
Chase,
half of that schedule is tough.
So Chase thinks bowl game. We gotta stay away from injuries,
and that's something that we didn't really talk about too. Royal goes down, that can change my perception very quickly.
Injuries, turnovers, those 2 things.
And just seeing how Harburg has improved. Maybe he's improved enough that Rolla gets hurt and we can still win 8 games. So
absolutely. So go to your local high school and watch JV. That's Iowa's offense. I love it, Casey. Welcome back. All right. So we'll wrap things up here. Sorry, that's kind of a quick end of the show for Husker football. Next week, we're going to be live at Backswing Brewing for our show. We're going to be talking to the guys that beat us in trivia, who are football fans. One of them was a Michigan fan. I think one was maybe a KU or K-State fan, and we have some Husker fans.
Well, for Michigan fans, we would have destroyed you in 97.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And again, we're drinking the Rule-Aid, so go Rule. Year 2, never know what you're going to get in year 2. So really excited to be back this year, guys. Really excited to be able to bring you some different things this year as 2 average guys. So thanks for joining. Hope you have enjoyed the rest of your Sunday.
Excited for football.
I'm Matt.
I'm Jimmy.
We're 2 average guys. And as always, go Big Red.
We'll see you next week.